So this is the last module for Ensembl today. So we're going to be talking about Ensembl BioMart. So BioMart is a highly customizable online data exportation tool from Ensembl. It allows you to export large amounts of Ensembl data tables without any programming knowledge. All you have to do is build queries with a few mouse clicks, and you can generate custom data tables and sequence files. So BioMart is great for things that would be time consuming and difficult and tedious by using the website alone. So if you wanted to download, for example, the sequence of hundreds of genes or genomic locations of hundreds of variants, doing it one by one by going to different Ensembl tabs is going to take you ages. In BioMart, you will be able to do all of it more efficiently and faster in just one place. So a bit like the chemists and convenience stores coming together in one supermarket to meet all of your needs. It's also great for things like ID conversions. So as researchers, you would often end up working with different databases, with all of them having their own identification system. So BioMart can convert these for you. BioMart can export large amounts of data, but it has limited capacity. So it's not a whole genome data export tool. If you would like to access whole genome flat files, please go to our FTP site, which is a public directory. But if you ask BioMart to output all possible human genes, it's going to crash. So we would suggest doing around 500 items at one time. You can find BioMart on the blue navigation bar at the top. So it's blue on Ensembl for Ensembl vertebrates, and then it's different color for Ensembl genomes depending on the taxa. And BioMart is available for all taxa division apart from bacteria, as there are just too many of them. And please do bear with me. I need to plug in my charger. Just 1 minute. Sorry about that. So it's the navigation bar is blue for Ensembl vertebrates, and then depending on the taxa of Ensembl genomes, it will be different colors. But you can find BioMart just at the top of the page on the navigation bars. And BioMart is available for all taxa divisions apart from bacteria, as there are just too many of them. So to use BioMart, you just have to follow 4 simple steps. So the first thing that you need to do is that you will need to choose your database and species of interest. Then you will need to narrow down this big database of all possible genes or variants to a smaller data set of your interest. And you will do this by applying filters. The third step is attributes. So these are things that you would like to print in your output. And then finally, you can view and export your results. So if you look at the first step in detail, this is defining the data set. You can choose different databases depending on what you're querying for. You can look for databases for Ensembl genes, variation, regulation, or mouse strains. You're likely not to use the mouse strains option unless you're looking for specific differences between different mouse strains. Then you need to define your species of interest. You then have to apply your filters. So these are things that you would like to search with. So most of the time, we would be interested in a subset of genes that are matching certain names or IDs, genes that are associated with a given phenotype or function, or that are falling within specific regions of your interest. BioMart gives you a lot of flexibility, but and you can apply more than one filter and build a simple, you can apply one filter and build a simple query, or you can apply more than one filter and build a more complicated query. So it follows end logic. It gives you intersectional filters. So for example, if I say I'm interested in all genes on chromosome 9, and the second filter is that I would like these genes to be with transmembrane domain. So in this case, I will only get transmembrane domain genes that fall on chromosome 9 as an output. Then you would need to specify your attributes. So this is what you would like in your output. And we provide a wide selection of these, including IDs, features, variants, orthologs, paralogs, and sequences. And finally, you can view and export your data. So BioMart supports several file formats, including HTML, comma separated, XLS. However, please bear in mind that Excel tables automatically change certain gene names into dates. So for example, if you have a gene name Oct2, that might get changed to October 2. So just be mindful of that. And then you can also export sequences as FASTA. If you are an R user, then there is also an R package for BioMart, and you can find the information on this by following links on my slide. And you can find more information by referring to these publications. So let's move on to the hands-on section. So the demonstration, we're going to be looking at 4 Atlantic salmon genes, and we would like to find out their NCBI gene ID, their function by the gene ontology terms, and their cDNA sequences. So we have 4 gene names over here. So the first thing that we will do is that we are going to select our database. So this is going to be Ensembl genes in salmon. So we've specified our species and we've specified our database. The next is filters. So what filters are we going to apply to narrow down this massive database of all salmon genes? So these would be our gene names, which are provided in this exercise here. The next thing is attributes. So these are things that we would like to have in our output. So we would like the NCBI gene IDs, gene ontology functions, gene ontology terms, and cDNA sequence. We're also going to add gene names to our attributes, just so that we can match our output to our input. And then the last thing is we can view and export our results. So let's jump out of the presentation now and go to Ensembl. So I'm going to click on BioMart, just over here at the top of the page on the blue navigation bar. And this takes me to the form for BioMart. So as I mentioned, the first thing we'll need to do is choose our database. So we can choose our database from Ensembl genes, mouse strains, Ensembl variation, and regulation. 109 is just the Ensembl release version. I'm going to select Ensembl genes. And then the next is that we will need to choose our data set. So this is our species of interest, and we're interested in Atlantic salmon. So just going to look for that. So it's just over here. And you'll notice that once I have chosen my data set, so my database and data set, the option of filters and attributes will appear on the left-hand side. So we've done the first step. The second step is to apply filters. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to click on filters. And there's various different filters available divided by category. So we can filter by region, we can filter by gene, gene ontology, multiple species comparisons, and protein domains and families. So for example, if you were going to filter your Atlantic salmon gene data set by region, you can, for example, select a chromosome. So you can say, for example, by selecting chromosome over here and then selecting the number. So let's say chromosome 9, you now have applied filter that you would only like genes of Atlantic salmon that are on chromosome 9. I'm not going to filter by chromosome, but I just wanted to show you that you do have this option. So let's unselect this filter. You also have the option to provide specific coordinates, so genes that fall within these specific coordinates, or you can apply multiple regions. The next category is gene. So you can input external reference ID list and filter by that, and this is what we're going to do. Or you can also filter by gene type. So there could be various different gene types that are mentioned here, like protein coding, pseudo genes, ribozyme, and so on. And you can also filter by transcript type or ensemble canonical and so on. We are going to filter by input external reference ID because we have specific gene names. So from this drop-down menu, I'm going to select the appropriate ID. So it's gene names over here. And now in this text box, I'm going to enter my gene names from the exercise or the demo. So these are comma separated, as you will see, but they could be tab separated or they could be in a list. You can also choose a file and upload a file from your computer as well if you'd like. So our filters become available on the left-hand side. So this is the filter that we have chosen. So the third step now is our attributes. So these are things that we would like in our output. Again, attributes, we have different categories for attributes as well. So we have features, structures, homologs, and sequences. You can only select one category at a time. So we'll stick with features. And if I expand gene, so here you can get various different gene information to appear in your output. So let's say that we would like the gene stable ID, and we would also like the transcript stable ID, not the ID version. Let's not worry about that for now. Then the next thing is that I would like my output to match my input. So I'm going to select gene name over here. We also wanted the gene ontology terms. So I'm going to expand external. And from here, I'm going to select gene ontology term accession, term name, and term definition. And then we also wanted the NCBI IDs that match these gene names. So I can select that from here. This is NCBI gene, formerly interest gene ID. We would also like the cDNA sequence, but as I mentioned, you can only select one category at a time. So I'll stick with features for now. Once you're happy with the list of attributes you've provided, it's going to appear on the left-hand side. And now we can click on results. We have our results over here. By default, BioMart is only going to show you the first 10 results. But if you would like to view all results, you can go to this view line and select all from this drop-down menu, which is going to open a new tab for you. And then it's going to show you the table for all of your results. So you'll notice that even though we provided just 4 gene names, the results table is quite massive. And this is because we are given the gene ontology for every single transcript of a gene. So if you remember that a gene could have numerous transcripts, so we have gene ontology that is associated with all of the transcripts of the genes that we have provided. I'm going to close this. And you'll notice that in our table, we have the gene stable ID, the transcript stable ID, the gene name that matches these IDs, the gene ontology term accession, term name, term definition, and also the NCBI gene ID that matches the gene name. You can export your results as file or compressed file, or also as compressed web file. If you select this web file option, you can provide your email address in the this option below, and then you can email the results to yourself. And you can export your results as table separated, comma separated, HTML, or XLS. Okay, so we would also like to see the cDNA sequence for the gene names that were given. For this, you don't need to create an entire new query. You can just go back to attributes on the left-hand side. And from here, instead of features, we're going to select sequences. And let's expand the sequence category. And you'll see that we have various different options for different sequences. We are interested in cDNA sequence. So let's select that. And then you can also select what kind of header information you would like to appear with your sequences. So let's say we would like the gene stable ID. We would also like the gene name, and we would also like the transcript stable ID. Once you're happy, you can click on results. Sorry, it's taking a little bit of time to load. Okay, so you'll see we have our cDNA sequences over here. So we have the sequence here, and then on top of the sequence, we have the Ensembl gene stable ID, the transcript ID, and then also the gene name. Again, by default, BioMart is going to show you the first 10 results. So it's going to give you the cDNA sequences for all of the transcripts of all of the genes. It's going to give you the first 10 results, but if you would like to view all of the results, then you can choose to view that by selecting all from this drop-down menu. And you can export these results as file, compressed file, or email them to yourself in the FASTA format. Okay, so this was everything I wanted to show you about BioMart. Are there any questions? All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to proceed with the wrap up for Ensembl. So yesterday and today, we sort of went over the Ensembl genome browser, and I showed you that it integrates gene annotation data, variation data, comparative genomics, and regulation data. This data is organized in different sites. So we have the main website, which is ensembl.org, and this is dedicated to vertebrate species. We also have a site that is dedicated to the previous human genome assembly, which is GRCH37. We have Ensembl genomes dedicated to non-vertebrates. So over here, you can find bacteria, protists, fungi, plants, metazoa. And then we also have our archives that keep previous versions of Ensembl stored, frozen in time for up to 5 years. You can mine our data by using my BioMart, as I've just shown you. And you can also access our data via Perl API, REST API, and MySQL. And our data is completely open source, so it's free to use. You can also access our whole genome flat files by going to our FTP site. If you have enjoyed the workshop, then please do recommend us to your colleagues and friends. We do browser courses such as yesterday and today, and then we also do REST API courses, which are aimed at bioinformaticians, and we show you how you can access Ensembl's data via REST API. If you have any questions regarding the course, or if you would like to arrange a workshop at your own institute, do contact us on helpdesk@ensembl.org. You can find lots of help and documentation on EBI website. So we have a lot of online courses and tutorials. You can find lots of videos on YouTube. And if you're still looking for something specific, or you would like to find more information about a specific data, then please do email us at helpdesk@ensembl.org. We also really value your feedback on the Ensembl website, so do let us know. And if you want to keep up to date on the upcoming releases or any new data that we're adding, or any internships or jobs, then you can sign up to our public mailing lists, which is dev@ensembl.org and announce@ensembl.org. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and check our blog, which is on ensembl.info. If you use Ensembl, please do not forget to cite us. We have the publication over here on my slide, as it helps us sort of realize who uses our resources and how they're using it, so we can use this data to make Ensembl even better and improve our resources. And then finally, I would like to thank all of you for your questions, and the entire Ensembl team for making this work possible.